Welcome to the show. Today is our final episode, so I thought I'd finish things off where I got them started, down here at my parents' place on the Mornington Peninsula. We've got a few people coming over to celebrate our last episode, so I thought I'd whip up a bit of party food for them. I'm going to make some Choy Bow, some scallops with tomato relish, and finally, my famous caramel slice. So come join me in the kitchen. So lid goes on, and voila, beautiful beef burger fit for a king. So come and join me in the kitchen. To start things off today, I thought I'd do one of my favourite things in the whole world, Choy Bow. It's quick and easy and it's full of flavour, so it makes a perfect thing to serve as finger food. To make it, you're going to need 500 grams of pork mince, 1 head of whitloaf, or a cos lettuce is fine if you can't get it, some coriander, 50 grams of bean shoots, 50 grams of water chestnuts, half an onion, half a centimetre of ginger, and 1 clove of garlic. Also, some shiitake mushrooms, but if you can't get those, normal mushrooms are fine. Some sesame oil, some soya sauce, and some ground cumin. It sounds like a lot of ingredients, but all of these are readily available, so let's get started. To begin with, get some oil in your pan on a nice hot heat, or as hot as my little portable stove will get. Make sure you've covered the bottom of it. Add a little bit of sesame oil now as well. You don't want to put too much sesame oil in because it can really overpower the dish, so moderation. Next up, your pork mince. If people don't like pork, you can always use beef, or for those vegetarians, this would be a good chance to get some tofu in there. So making sure you move it around. You don't want to get all big chunks of meat. When you're cooking this dish, it's really important to use a pan that's got a lot of surface area because you don't want your meat to stew. So leave your pork to cook and then move on to your other ingredients. We'll start off with our onion, garlic, and our ginger. Because this is for finger food today, try and cut these as small as possible because you want little bits of everything in every single mouthful. If you're just making big ones, you don't have to be too worried about it. I'm certainly glad I bought Mum this knife for Christmas now. Next up, your garlic, just thin slices. And finally, your ginger. You want to make sure you chop this up really fine because it's not going to cook for very long, so it won't have a chance to break down, and you certainly don't want to get a whole mouthful of that. So, just chopping this one. So when it's nice and fine, in that goes as well. Make sure you keep giving your mix a stir because you want everything to get a chance to cook. It's already starting to smell pretty good. So next up, mushrooms. The shiitake mushrooms really give a unique flavour to the dish. Always use fresh shiitakes though, because dried shiitakes have a very different flavour and it's way too strong. Overpowers everything. So chop it up. And the reason why I'm cutting these up so small is because we're just going to have little finger food size ones, but if you were going to have them in big iceberg lettuce cups or something, then you don't need to worry about cutting it this fine. So stir that through. And it's starting to look pretty good. Next up, water chestnuts. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple dish. Everything is just chopped up and cooked off together. So once you have an understanding of the basic ingredients, then you can make this easy as. And it's also a mix that you can freeze too, so. The main reason why we put water chestnuts in is for their texture. They have a beautiful sort of crispy texture, but they'll keep as well. Even once they're cooked, they still maintain it. So they don't add a whole lot of flavour, but they add a beautiful texture to it. You should be able to smell the sesame oil, and if you can't, it means it needs some more. Absolutely love sesame oil. So, next up, coriander. You don't want to cut this up too much, just finely go through it like that, and in that goes. When you start cutting herbs up too much, you bruise them, and quite often you'll change the flavour of them. This gives it that beautiful fresh flavour and fresh smell. But if you keep grinding it and grinding it, a lot of that flavour leaves the herb and ends up on your board. Next up, bean shoots. Just once again, rough chop that through, and in they go. Along with our ground cumin. So, just a couple of sprinkles. Most recipes wouldn't call for the ground cumin in it, but it's something I really love in Choy Bow, so I'll always put it in. So now you've got all your ingredients in and you can smell it all in the air, it's time to put your soy sauce in. Be quite generous with it, and always make sure you buy good quality soy sauce. And try and get it in the pan as well. I've definitely made the mistake in the past of trying to save a bit of money on soy sauce. Always regret it. So just allow this to tick away now until all your soy sauce has cooked out of it. So when you're cutting your whitloff leaves, the ends of it can be quite bitter. So you want to just cut those off, and that'll give you a beautiful little cup. But that's not going to be very tasty on its own. Have a little taster, a little sampler. It tastes absolutely fantastic. Every time I go out to Chinese, I always start with Choy Bow. So, you can pre-cut your leaves for these, but you don't want to leave your mix hanging around too long in them. So, pre-cut your leaves. When you're ready to serve them, heat your mix up, and then put them together and send them out, because otherwise the lettuce will wilt and then the whole texture is going to be out the window. So a little bit in each. Making sure you get a little bit of everything in your spoonful. And I think they look absolutely fantastic. But there's no magic of television here, guys. It's actually that simple. So maybe whip it up tomorrow night for dinner. Don't wait around for a party. But coming up next, I'm going to do some scallops wrapped in prosciutto with a tomato relish. It's not as hard as it sounds, and I'll see you after the break.